Attila the Hun, a fierce warrior and ruler of the Hunnic Empire from 434 to 453 AD. He was a brutal leader, often known for sacking and pillaging cities throughout Eastern and Central Europe. He went down in history as one of history's most ruthless leaders. Hello everyone, welcome to Top 10 History, your hub for historical lists and amazing history facts. Today we're going to go over the top 10 amazing facts about Attila the Hun. Make sure to watch until number 1 because it's one of the most amazing facts about the Hunnic leader that will surely surprise you. Before we begin, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel with notifications on because we release a new historical top 10 list every single day. Also make sure to smash that like button. Alright, let's just get right into the video. Number 10. His nickname was the Scourge of God. You know you're a brutal and feared leader by all when your nickname suggests that you were sent down from God himself to punish all mortals on earth. Attila the Hun was no doubt a leader who was feared during his reign. The Roman Empire described him as one of the most feared enemies that they had ever faced. He did invade the Italian peninsula and laid waste to the northern provinces, but was ultimately never able to take down Rome. This nickname was first introduced when Attila pillaged and pushed his armies all the way down to the Byzantine capital of Constantinople. The Byzantines called him Flagellum Dei, which translates to Scourge of God. At his height, his Hunnic rule stretched as far west as modern-day Orléans, France, and extended east well into modern-day Russia. The empire also stretched as north as the tip of modern-day Denmark, and as south as the Danube River in modern-day Hungary. It was one of the largest empires in European history. Number 9. No one knows where he is buried. Being the ferocious warrior that he is, constantly raiding and plundering Roman villages, you might think that the brave warrior one day died in battle. But actually, he succumbed to something as simple as a nosebleed. Following his death, his people grieved and honored him by painting their faces with blood and rode their horses around his body all night. Attila was buried in 3 layers of coffin along with several weapons and treasures that he salvaged from his raids. However, no one knows where Attila is actually buried. The servants who buried Attila were killed shortly after the fact to prevent anyone from knowing where he's buried. It is believed that he is buried somewhere in Hungary, since that is where the heart of his empire was based. However, there are no records or evidence that can prove where the fearsome leader is actually buried. Legends say that a river split in two so that Attila could be buried in its bed. After he was buried, the river then returned to normal, causing his grave to be fully submerged under the river. Number 8. He died on his wedding night. Speaking of the death of the great leader, he died a rather horrible and mysterious death. As I said before, you might have expected for such a mighty military leader to be killed gloriously in battle. However, this was not the case. Attila married several times during his life. The exact number is unknown. His third wife that we know about, a young woman named Ildiko, would be his last bride, and unfortunately for him, their marriage wouldn't even last an entire day. As you might expect, their wedding was a glorious occasion and was celebrated by feasting and drinking all night, as anyone would desire to do for their big day. However, the next morning, Attila did not get up in the morning. After knocking down his door, his guards discovered Attila dead on his bed, with his now widowed bride crying by his side. His official cause of death was a nosebleed, and because he fell asleep in a supine position, he wound up choking to death on his own blood. Whether this was a freak accident, a conspiracy to kill him by the Romans, or if he was murdered by his new wife, still remains a mystery to this day. Number 7. Attila was quite modest. You might think that a brutal warlord such as Attila the Hun, who frequently pillaged and hoarded treasures, would be such a selfish and self-centered tyrant, right? Well, according to Priscus, who was a Roman diplomat to the Huns, he treated his guests very well. When Priscus and his entourage visited Attila's headquarters, they were given a high-class feast that was served on silver platters. While his guests were eating and drinking off of plates, cups, and silverware made out of pure gold and silver, Attila himself drank out of a wooden cup and ate nothing but meat off of a wooden tray. Talk about modesty to be willing to be the only one at the table not dining with gold and silver luxuries. The same was true with the way he dressed. Attila's men would often decorate themselves with gold and jewelry that they plundered from their enemies. Attila, however, would dress quite simply, wearing the same clothes that a common person would at the time. Although Attila had a lust for gold, he was too modest to enjoy his riches for himself. Number 6. He was only defeated in battle once. Attila the Hun was a brutal warlord conqueror, having participated in several battles during his lifetime. So you might think that someone who has been in so many battles might have won some and lost some, right? Well, not exactly. Attila the Hun only lost one battle in his entire life, and that was the Battle of the Catalauian Plains. In 451, just 2 years before his death, Attila and 200,000 Hunnic warriors invaded Gaul. As always, his Hunnic invasion was devastating, with mass murder and pillaging. In order to fight off the Huns, King Theodoric I of the Visigoths made an alliance with Roman general Flavius Aetius, and they formed a coalition against Attila. In one of the bloodiest conflicts in history, with an estimated number of 165,000 soldiers dead across both sides, King Theodoric I was one of the many who was killed in this battle. As a result, Attila experienced his first and only defeat, and his invasion of Gaul was ultimately unsuccessful. However, this defeat didn't discourage Attila, since he would invade Italy the very next year. Number 5. His real intentions for invading Gaul. On the topic of invading Gaul, you may be asking yourself, why did he do it? Was it for fame, wealth, pride, or just to satisfy an imperialistic ambition? Well, the real reason is that he invaded Gaul because he thought it would earn him a new wife. The Emperor of Western Rome at the time had a very tenacious sister named Honoria. She sent Attila a ring and asked for his assistance in getting her out of an arranged marriage to a Roman aristocrat. Attila interpreted this gift of a ring as a proposal, although that was not Honoria's intention at all. Regardless, Attila set out for his invasion of Gaul. Well, as he just learned, this invasion was a failure, resulting in Attila's first and only defeat at the Battle of the Catalaunian Plains. However, this never stopped Attila from leading invasions in the name of Honoria, as he launched 2 additional invasions after the fact in attempts to win his desired bride. Honoria, in the end, wound up marrying a Roman aristocrat anyway. Number 4. He killed his brother. This is not the first time in history that someone killed a member of their family in order to gain power. Now, anyone who knows a little bit about Attila the Hun might have heard of this story. Following a peace treaty in 443 AD, there was a short-lived era of peace in the Hunnic Empire. The empire at the time was ruled by both Attila and his brother Bleda, who shared power. However, Attila desired absolute power over the empire and believed that his brother Bleda was getting in the way of achieving his goals. What happened exactly is still a mystery, but Priscus, the same Roman diplomat who often visited the Huns, declared Bleda, king of the Huns, was assassinated as a result of the plots of his brother Attila. Following the death of his brother, Attila was able to launch a full-scale invasion of the Eastern Roman Empire, which he was not able to do under his brother's rule. Number 3. He negotiated peace with the Romans. Now, when you think of a vicious warmonger such as Attila the Hun, it's hard to imagine that someone like this would ever sue for peace. However, just after the deaths of their uncles who had power over the Huns at the time, he did actually negotiate peace with the Romans. Attila and his brother Bleda negotiated a treaty with the Emperor Theodosius II. The treaty involved the Romans paying the Huns 700 pounds of gold every year in exchange for peace. However, as you might expect, this peace treaty didn't last very long. Attila claimed that the Romans had allegedly violated the peace treaty and launched several attacks on Roman cities. In response, Theodosius was forced to pay triple the amount of gold in exchange for peace, bringing the amount up to 2,100 pounds of gold per year. And this goes to show the extent people at the time were willing to go in order to not be invaded by the Huns. Number 2. He was born into nobility. When one thinks of Attila the Hun, they might picture a rag-wearing barbarian who was nothing but a straight-up savage. Although it was true that he was cruel and ruthless, he was not a dirty, uneducated barbarian at all. He was actually born into a powerful Hunnic family in modern-day Hungary. As previously mentioned, he had 2 uncles who ruled over the Hunnic Empire before him. Their names were Octor and Regilla. They received elite instruction on horseback riding, caring for horses, as well as combat skills such as sword fighting and archery. They also received formal education in military and diplomatic tactics. To say that Attila came from humble upbringings and that he was just some filthy barbarian wouldn't be true at all, since he did grow up in a well-off family and received training and education. Number 1. No one truly knows where the Huns came from. The Huns were a nomadic tribe. They rarely settled down and spent most of their lives traveling on horseback and acquiring their golds through brutal military force. However, where did this tribal empire come from? Historians disagree on the people's true origins. Some theories believe that they were from modern-day Kazakhstan, a large country just south of Russia. Others believe that they were from the nomadic Xiongnu people, the same people in China who had to build the Great Wall in order to keep out barbarians. This makes sense to believe this because the Huns were very similar to the Mongolians in terms of their way of life. Both Mongolia and Kazakhstan are known to be very spread out and dominated by wide open plains, which is the ideal environment for the Huns. However, the true origins of the Hunnic people still remain a mystery to this day. All that we know is that wherever they came from, there's no denying that they left their mark on European history. Do these facts shock you? Make sure that you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on more amazing historical facts and much more. If you like this video, check out this next video on the top 10 amazing facts about John Adams. Alright, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.